Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Caplan is with us, our SportsGrid Insider. Boy, the NFL delivered Thursday night, Thursday night, Friday night. The early window Sunday was as good as it gets. Every game except two coming right down to the wire. The later games, not so great. Night game again was awesome. And I think that's probably a good place to start, Adam, before we get into everything that happened with the Packers. We'll dive into it. But the NFL couldn't have asked for a better start, I think, to their first 3 days of football. It was really all around incredibly fun.
It was. Look, not every game's going to be great, but the primetime games, went down to the wire, no question about it. With Isaiah Likely's foot, was it going to get in or not? Then you had the Jordan Love injury, which we'll discuss. That was a knockdown, drag-out fight. That game had tremendous urgency for a regular season game, and those two teams, of course, the Eagles and the Packers, from the same conference. And then you had last night's game where the Rams had a courageous performance. All sorts of injuries on offense. Their offensive line had major problems with guys leaving the game. They were down 3 starters. They almost pulled that game out. We know it went down to the wire there. So you're right. You're absolutely right. It was a really good week one. By the way, more games went over the total than under, which was a difference from the previous 2 years where 70% of the games went under. It was a little different this year, and we can get into that as well. A couple of those games, high scoring, kind of surprised me. But look, it's week one. Things happen.
Yeah, they do. And it's best to put that a little bit in a box, Adam, before moving forward, because week one doesn't usually determine the rest of the season. But it may for the Green Bay Packers. And it's just the nature of the National Football League at this point. And Adam, with Jordan Love being out, which has been sliding under the radar now because of all the games on Sunday and Monday, the Packers are in an impossible spot. Honestly, Adam, as most teams probably would be when you lose your starting quarterback. And I don't know if you feel the Packers are in a worse spot with their backups than some others. And I guess that's what we should dive into here. Are they worse off than maybe some other team that would have lost a starter for an extended period of time?
Yeah, Craig, this is just based on, I go back to the Senior Bowl. I was there with Malik Willis, who's got a lot of ability. He's got a good arm. He's kind of small, kind of raw, undeveloped. He needs a lot of work. He basically was beaten out by Mason Rudolph, wasn't even close in Tennessee. The Titans found one team who would take Malik Willis. He's a project. If you're going to trade for him, Craig, you really want him in your offseason program. To trade for him now, for him to be your number 2 quarterback, it's going to be a problem. Let's forget about what happened, him being put in late in the game. That's not fair to him. Mm-hmm. He needs a lot more work. Sean Clifford was a 5th rounder last year out of Penn State. He's on the practice squad. He knows that system as well. But you asked the question, they're way worse off. This worries me. As someone who picked the Packers to win the NFC North, you can't predict injuries. Right. But Jordan Love, by the way, Jordan Love didn't play very well. He has a left MCL sprain. He has a moderate MCL sprain. Those could be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. It just depends, on is it a half tear? Is it just under a half, a little bit over half? Bottom line is, this is a setback for them. I expect to run the ball a little bit more of a commitment to it. They're already a balanced team, but you don't want to put it on Malik Willis. You got to try to help him as much as you can.
Yeah, no, there's not much to be said. Not everybody has Stidham or Dobbs or O'Connell or one of these other players who have played a little bit in the NFL. Maybe it's because they committed so much money to Love at that point. How much can you commit to the backup? I don't know. But I see it the same way as you. I saw Willis play, for his cup of coffee in Tennessee. He looked like he wasn't ready. All right, so where did the NFL analysts go wrong for many years with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland or with the Rams? Because Baker Mayfield right now, Adam, not only did he turn the corner last year, he's turning heads again this time around. And look, I understand Washington's not the best team in the National Football League, but he threw 4 touchdowns, 289 yards, and get this, 24 out of 30 in this game for Baker Mayfield. He is living up to all the hype that he had when he was drafted.
Yeah, and I think what happened is he got out of Cleveland. He needed to leave. He kind of bounced around a little bit, didn't work out for him in Carolina, but man, it has been a great story. You could call it whatever you want, redemption, whatever it is, of improvement. He's been a great story. And yesterday in that game, the Bucs hosting Washington, where they handled the Commanders very well. Protection was great. He delivered the ball. He's got a good receiver core. I like that kid McMillan, who's a rookie draftee. He did a good job. He had a big play yesterday. But the story of that game was their protection. Baker Mayfield, like all quarterbacks, needs protection, and he did a great job. Once he was protected, he delivered. Bringing back Mike Evans, they got his contract straightened out. Chris Godwin, by the way, he was probably going to play more inside than outside this season. It looks good. Now, they have a very young defense. This is just one game, as you mentioned. It's important to mention that. they had an opponent with a new offensive scheme, a new defensive scheme. Everything's changing. They took advantage of it. They got to play the Eagles coming up. That'll be hard in a couple weeks here. But the bottom line is that's a great win. And by the way, I did pick the Bucs to win it, to win that NFC South. It's not going to be easy. Atlanta had a very bad game yesterday, which was kind of hard to believe. They didn't show up for that game at home, their home opener. They looked bad. But when you really look at it, that division's up for the taking there. And I'm going to pick the Bucs to win it for the fourth straight time.
Yeah, and by the way, on the flip side, I will say Jaden Daniels, up against it, put up a ton of numbers yesterday too. Maybe we'll talk about that later in the week. And now Cleveland would love to have Jaden Daniels. They'd love to take back everything that they did with Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't understand how a player can fall off this badly. I guess I can understand because it happened to Russell Wilson. It looks like it's happening to Deshaun Watson, although Watson much younger and a lot less accomplished than Russell Wilson. So, what are the Browns going to do? I hear all this stuff about dead cap, and honestly, Adam, I find that nonsense. Every team gets out of these cap situations. They always find a way to do it. We hear that they won't, and then they do. Osweiler, Russell Wilson, everyone else, they figure it out. But I guess the question is, will they move on from Watson sooner than we thought?
They got to give him time to get right here. Remember, he was hurt last year. He hasn't played good football since 2020. They've got 2 years of fully guaranteed money past this season. Jameis Winston was brought back. They should have brought back Joe Flacco, but that's a conversation for another time. But Jameis Winston's there. He's a quality backup. They're committed to Watson. It would have to take something astronomically bad. Like midseason, if they're 2-7, and it's clearly on him, that's a different story. But right now, it's only one game, but he did not look good. By the way, both offensive tackles were out yesterday. That was a problem.
That's true. Yeah, no, it's true. And certainly we'll give Watson the benefit of the doubt again going into this week. All right, Adam, great stuff as always. Great insight. We'll talk again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good. Thanks.